Let us start the third lecture on the support vector machine. So in the previous lecture we considered the support vector machine application towards the linearly separable data points and non-linearly separable data points. So using the Lagrangian multiplier we optimize the dual optimization problem. So now we will see support vector machine, how it is useful for the regression problem. So before we enter into the regression problem, I would like to introduce about the feature space. So suppose if we, in the practicals we have data points which may not be linearly separable. So in that case, the linear hyperplane will not be useful in the classification or any kind of applications. So for that we have to convert the non-linearly separable data points into the into higher dimension, so that it can be easily separated or easily classified. So for that the input space, the data points which is in the input space has to be transformed into feature space, where the feature space is a higher dimensional space. Okay, and using the mapping function or the kernel functions, we will see how it will be converted or transformed into the higher dimensional, and how we can classify the non-linearly separable data points using the SVM. Okay, so first, the linearly SVMs are directly extendable to the non-linear SVM using a simple technique that is based on the idea of an inner product kernel. So kernel is a product of maps. Okay, so consider for example, consider data points that cannot be separated by linearly decision boundary in the input space. These data points are mapped into a high dimensional feature space called H, denoted by H. In feature space, data points are separable and applied with a linear decision boundary in the H space. In other words, we map the input vector x using a map function, that is psi, which is a n-dimensional real numbers, which is mapped to the H feature. Okay, so phi of x is called as a feature vector. So x is mapped to phi of x, okay, which is given by a1 phi 1 of x, a2 phi 2 of x, like that, an phi n of x. So we can find a number of or infinite number of dimensions. Okay, so the final linear decision function in the feature space we can rewrite in terms of y of x, the output of the neural network, where y of x equal to sine of summation I equal to 1 to ns di lambda I hat phi of x, phi of xi plus omega hat naught. So instead of having to perform the mapping of xi, xj into feature space and then compute their inner product, we can define a kernel function. Still we can have the same answer as that of the inner products. So that kernel function is denoted as k of xi comma xj, which is equivalent to inner product of phi of xi in dot product dot phi of xj. Then d of x, which is nothing but the output of the neural network in terms of the kernel, which is equal to sine of summation I equal to 1 to ns, where ns is the number of support vectors, di, which is the desired output, and lambda I hat k of xi comma xj plus omega naught hat. So for this, to explain this, let us consider a simple example. So consider the following map of two variables. Say vector input vector is having two variables, say x1 and x2. So these two variables, okay, how we can denote in terms of the inner product or the mapper, that phi of x equal to 1 comma root of 2x1 comma root of x2 comma x1 square comma x2 square comma root of 2x1 x2. So if we take the inner dot product of the mapper x of phi of x dot phi of y, which is equal to 1 plus 2x1 y1 plus 2x2 y2 plus x1 square y1 square plus x2 square y2 square plus 2x1 x2 y1 y2, which is reduced as 1 plus x1 y1 plus x2 y2 the whole square, which can also be rewritten as 1 plus x dot y the whole square. So this is nothing but kernel k of x dot y. So we can write phi of x dot phi of y equal to k of x dot y. So we have expressed the inner dot product of the mapper phi of x dot phi of y equal to k of x dot y. So here we can see how pictorially it is represented. So in the first diagram, the class 1 and class 2. So if we wanted to draw a linear hyperplane, it is not possible in the first example. So we have to convert into higher dimensional. These data points are converted or transformed into higher dimensional. So in the higher dimensional, the input space is called as a feature space. So this we have obtained by using the mapper function, that is phi of x dot xi dot phi of xj. This makes the data points clearly visible, and instead of like curved or any other hyperplane, we can use the linear hyperplane. In the features place, if we use the linear hyperplane, in the input space we can see that hyperplane, the linear hyperplane is converted to curved one, and still it is classifying the two class data points. This is the pictorial representation of nonlinear SVM design. Now we can say that okay, there are so many hyperplanes are available. So in that hyperplane, which hyperplane can give me the better generalization performance? So in order to find out in a nonlinear SVM, we have one more conditions that should be satisfied in order to get the greater um, generalization performance, and that condition is stated by Mercer. So this condition is also called as a Mercer's condition. So the Mercer condition states that there exists a mapping phi of x and an expansion of a symmetric kernel function. So what is the kernel function? Kernel function, we also know that k of x comma y, which is equal to inner dot product of phi of x and phi of y. So if we expand for many number of hyperplanes, the inner product will be that is kernel function will be equal to sum of I phi of I x dot phi of I y. So if and only if this will be we can find out the generalization performance, better generalization performance, if and only if the k of x comma y into g of x comma g of x g of y dx dy. So integration of this should be greater than or equal to 0. So if we get the product of this and sum of product of this, if it is positive for all g of x, so where g of x is nothing but integration of g square of x into dx, which is finite value. So if this is the case, then we can have the inner product product kernels which can satisfy some Mercer's conditions. So there are a number of approximate functions. Okay, so here for your syllabus we have defined only 3 functions. One is polynomial of degree m. So where the kernel function k of x comma y can be defined as 1 plus x dot y to the power of m. So we have seen the example for the polynomial k of x comma y, how it is equivalent to 1 plus x dot y to the power of m, where m is the dimension of the input data point. Then second approximation function, that is radial basis indicator function. So in that y of x, the indicator function y of x equal to sine of summation I equal to 1 to m alpha I exponential of minus um, absolute value, that is x minus xi the whole square divided by sigma square, where exponential of x minus xi the whole square by sigma square is nothing but the kernel function k of x dot y. And with the center, if we use this as a function, then the center of this function will be xi, and it can spread and it will have a spreader value as a sigma. Now if I take the neural network, then the neural network indicator function is defined as y of x, which is equal to sine of the sigma I equal to 1 to m alpha I tan h of a of x comma w plus b plus omega naught. So where k of x comma y, that is kernel function in this case, is equal to tan h of a comma x comma y plus b, where a can take the value of 2 and b bias can take the value of 1, and w and w naught are weight vectors. So this Mercer's condition, if we apply, we can find out of n number of hyperplanes which will give the better performance based on the criteria that is mentioned above. Now we will see the algorithm of support vector machines. So initially, training set comprised of xk which belongs to n dimensional real numbers, and desired output vectors dk which belongs to -1 or +1. So this is given to the SVM. Initializing the kernel function initializing the kernel function k, then set up the Hessian matrix, where the Hessian matrix is the matrix of partial derivatives. So we have seen in the previous classes how Hessian matrix is used in the Lagrangian multiplier in order to optimize the function. So Hij equal to di dj k of xi and xj. So say in the previous lectures we can find that Hij equal to di dj xi xj. So here that was in the input space. Here, since we are considered in the feature space, it is already mapped to the kernel. So using the kernel, it is already mapped. So Hij will be equal to now di dj k of xi comma xj, and set c, where c is the controlling parameter used by the specified by the user, and the algorithm will be bounded to the c value. So maximizing the maximize gamma transpose into I minus half gamma transpose H gamma. This equation is subjected to the constraints by subjecting this equation, the optimization is to the constraint, that is gamma into d, where d is the desired output, should be equal to 0, and gamma should be greater than or equal to 0, but it should be less than or equal to c into I. Using any quadratic program optimizer, you can optimize this equation and obtain the optimized Lagrangian multiplier. So we'll see the predictor class, how the output of this will be considered, will be written. They given any test input, say now the unknown input, the training functions will be training phase will maximize the output. Now the unknown input, any unknown input or the test input x, if it is given, then the output y will be calculated as y of x equal to sine of sigma I equal to 1 to ns, where ns is the number of support vectors di lambda I cap k into x comma xi plus omega cap omega naught. So this is pictorially represented in this diagram, where we have a input test vector applied. then the test vector will be transformed into a higher dimensional using kernel. Then it will be multiplied with the weight vector, which includes the lambda and the desired value. So how the lambda and desired value is calculated, that is based on the Lagrangian multiplier. So lambda, which is nothing but the Lagrangian multiplier vectors, so variable. So this will be applied to the neuron, and with the activation function we can obtain that activation function. Here we have taken it as a sine function. So that the sine of output of the neuron will decide whether that test vector, whether it is whether it is belongs to class 1 or class 2. Difference between the linear absolute linear error and the radius of the, so the radius of the tube is nothing but the epsilon, that is insensitive loss function. For errors in prediction is less than epsilon, there is no penalty. That's what in the previous equation says. For errors beyond epsilon, the loss is equivalent to absolute linear error, which is less than the epsilon. So now we will define what is empirical risk for this function. So empirical risk E of f equal to 1 by q summation q equal to 1 to q Le of dk comma f of xk comma w is to be minimized subject to the constraint. So what is the constraint? W square should be less than the gamma, that is lambda. So in order to formulate an appropriate cost function, two non-negative slack variables for each data points in the training set are introduced. So what are the slack variable? Here you have epsilon I and epsilon I prime. So di minus w transpose phi of x minus w naught minus epsilon should be less than or equal to epsilon I, where I can take 1 to q numbers, and w transpose phi of x plus w naught minus di minus epsilon should be less than or equal to phi I prime. Again I can take 1 to q. So here the slack variables phi I and phi I prime should be positive. Okay, so that's what it meant by the two equations. So we will see what is loss function, that is insensitive loss function. So we had the margin in the previous case as this. The diagram says the margin as this. So now this is related between the margin. Okay, so margin is expanded as this. So you have minus epsilon to plus epsilon. So inside that error will be 0. So you have the margin, that margin is converted as a error for error. So that is depicted in this diagram. So empirical risk minimization problem is equivalent to minimizing the functional. So that is half of w square plus c, where into summation I equal to 1 to q epsilon I plus summation I equal to 1 to q epsilon prime. So where c is a user specified parameter that assigns greater or lesser penalty to error. So LP of w comma w naught e comma e prime lambda prime gamma prime will be equal to half w transpose w plus c summation I equal to 1 to q epsilon I plus epsilon I prime minus summation I equal to 1 to q lambda I of w transpose phi of xi plus w naught minus di plus epsilon I prime minus summation I equal to 1 to q lambda I prime into di minus wt phi of xi minus w naught plus epsilon I prime minus summation I equal to 1 to q of gamma I epsilon I plus gamma I prime epsilon I prime. So where E, the capital E, is refers to epsilon 1 to epsilon q, E prime refers to epsilon prime 1 to epsilon prime q. These are the slack vectors variables, and gamma lambda will be equal to lambda 1 to lambda q transpose, lambda prime equal to lambda 1 I 1 prime to lambda q prime, and gamma equal to gamma 1 to gamma q, like that. So these are all Lagrange multiplier vectors for the constraints defined. So now we know that the optimization, the risk minimization problem is now converted into dual optimization. Using the Lagrangian multiplier, we can optimize the function. So for that we have to find out the saddle point where the partial differentiation with respect to primary variables are 0. So we will finding this one, and we obtain that the w equal to summation I equal to 1 to q lambda I minus lambda I prime phi of xi, and with respect to w naught it reduced as summation I equal to 1 to q lambda I minus lambda prime equal to 0. With respect to epsilon I, then gamma I will be equal to c minus lambda I. With respect to epsilon I prime, gamma I prime will be equal to c minus lambda I prime. So substituting all this equation into the LD, where we get the simplified dual form LD as LD of gamma gamma prime will be equal to summation I equal to 1 to q di into lambda I plus lambda I minus lambda I prime minus epsilon into summation of I equal to 1 to q lambda I plus lambda I prime minus half lambda I equal to 1 to q lambda j equal to 1 to q lambda I minus lambda I prime into lambda j minus lambda j prime into phi of transpose of xi and phi of xj. So final simplified equation number 2 is simplified and applying the Mercer's theorem. So here the phi, the inner product, is replaced with the kernel function. So now the above equation is reduced as LD of gamma comma gamma prime equal to summation I equal to 1 to q lambda I into di minus epsilon minus lambda I prime into di plus epsilon, which is a minus half summation I equal to 1 to q and summation j equal to 1 to q into lambda I comma lambda j minus lambda I comma lambda j prime minus lambda I prime into lambda j plus lambda I prime into lambda j into kernel k of xi into xj. So in the vector form, this can be rewritten as LD of gamma comma gamma prime equal to lambda transpose lambda prime transpose into d minus ei minus d minus ei minus half lambda transpose into lambda prime transpose into h minus h into h and into gamma and gamma prime, which can be written as a matrix form as this. So this equation is subject to the constraints that we have already defined, that summation I equal to 1 to q 1 to q lambda I minus lambda I prime, which is equal to 0, where lambda is bounded between 0 to c and lambda I is also bounded to 0. Where H matrix is defined as Hij is Cn, that is nothing but the kernel function k of xi comma xj, and d is a desired output d1 to dq transpose, and I is the identity matrix. So from the above optimization, where lambda I or lambda I prime is not 0 and corresponding data points are vectors. So from this equation, say equation number 14, so we can find out that wherever the data points either lambda I or lambda I prime is not 0, and those data points we call it as a support vectors, and if I or I prime are 0, then the inner product will be reduced to 0, then the weight vector is reduced as expected weight vector will be w cap will be equal to summation I equal to 1 to q of lambda I cap minus lambda prime I cap into phi of xi. For the support vectors, if we write this equation for the support vectors, then the k equal to 1 to s, where ns is less than the q. and lambda k cap minus lambda k prime hat into phi of xk. So to compute, this is for the weight vectors, and to compute the bias, we'll take the average over all support vectors which have an interpolation error of exactly epsilon, that is those which lie on the epsilon tube.